Welcome to my channel. America rocked again, not by terrorism, not by war, but by a government testing the limits of its constitution. In October 2025, National Guard armored vehicles roll through the streets of Chicago, Portland, Atlanta. Overhead, helicopters roar, spray tear gas, drop flares, and the one giving the orders to it all, not the state governors, but President Donald Trump. Law and order will return, he declared, but people understood something else. Power is being weaponized. That image, soldiers marching into an American city, became symbolic of something deeper. Democracy is being tested with violence. Trump, in his usual style, turned the crisis into a stage. Each military convoy became a prop for a show of power. Each arrested protester was a proof of the message, only I control America. But in the flashbulbs and television cameras, something else was crumbling. Principle of civilian control over the military, the soul of the American institution. When the military is used to regulate civilian life, the law becomes a backdrop, and democracy a scene. From Chicago, Barack Obama spoke. No longer the former president making polite remarks, he spoke with the voice of a man who has seen power and knows its destructive power. When the army can use force against its own people, that is corruption, Obama said on the podcast WTF with Mark Maron. He's not just criticizing Trump. He's warning that when power is unlimited, America is no longer America. Trump turns law and order into a brand. Obama calls it politicization of the military, and that's the scariest thing. In Congress, young Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett said, "Their olive blade. When power does not ask permission, it is no longer power, it is domination." She didn't just object, she cut to the core. If the president can call in the National Guard without the consent of state governors, the American federal system is broken. Meanwhile, in the cities, the scenes unfolded like something out of a dark political movie. Protesters were dragged into unmarked vehicles. Reporters were beaten and chased from the scene. Federal units acted without name badges. Trump called it show of strength. Obama said it is an expression of fear. And Crockett, in a television interview, concluded succinctly, "This is not protecting the people, this is a repression exercise." That quote went viral on social media, shared millions of times, because it said exactly what everyone saw but didn't dare say. America is getting used to the sight of troops on the streets. In academic circles, this is called Trump's doctrine of internal occupation, creating a crisis, then claiming to be the only one who can end it. A perfect cycle of power: incite, repress, declare victory. At each step, democracy retreats a little. And when people begin to fear their own government, that government has succeeded. Obama understands that. He was once the one with the authority to give orders, but he chose not to. Now, he sees his successor weaponizing that limit. "If I ever sent troops into Texas, Fox News would call me a dictator," he said. It's not just satire, it's the naked hypocrisy in American politics. But Trump doesn't need morality. He needs a frame. The White House released a promotional video. Soldiers marching, majestic music, the words, "Restore order." It's no longer a policy announcement, it's a trailer for an actual movie. Obama called it a dangerous political campaign. Crockett called out campaign of fear. And both understand that when image replaces law, every crisis can become an opportunity for power to expand itself. That night, in his final comments, Obama said slowly, "We don't need gunmen on patrol. We need police officers who know every kid on the block by name." A simple saying, but carries the weight of a constitution. And Crockett, standing in front of the camera, looks straight into the lens. When a country has to use its army to control its people, the problem is not with the people, it is with the government. That's not a criticism, that's a warning. And in that moment, America faced an unavoidable question. When power wears military uniform, who will dare to say no? While the country continues to debate the presence of troops on the streets in Washington, another war is underway, a war between words and power. Obama chose the microphone, Trump chose Twitter. One side speaks with reason, the other side speaks with anger. But both know, in the age of images, whoever controls emotions controls America. On the podcast, Obama doesn't shout or raise his voice. He speaks like someone who has held the keys to the chamber of power and knows how dangerous it can be. We used to teach the world that the military should obey the civilians, but when the president uses it to intimidate his own people, democracy begins to rot from within. His words were like a knife cutting through the political fog. The statement angered Republicans, but also woke millions of Americans up. What's scary isn't violence, it's legalized violence. Jasmine Crockett was different. She didn't speak like a former president. She spoke like a citizen, young, angry, and unafraid. We cannot let power be governed by fear. Her every word was like a drumbeat in the middle of the National Assembly. Fast, intense, straight to the audience's heart. During a tense hearing, she pointed to a chart hanging behind her, more than 600 anonymous arrests in Portland and Chicago. This is not law enforcement, this is a protest test. Because in her eyes, every person arrested without due process is a small but dangerous step, a brick on the road to tyranny. Behind the scenes, scholars call it the reversal responsibility strategy. Trump creates chaos, then forces others to prove it it must be his fault. He activated the military, then said it was the opposition that was causing the unrest. He uses the media to obscure the law, turning every act of coercion into a protective measure. In that world, truth is no longer in the text, it's in the frame. And when people believe only in images, every definition of freedom can be rewritten. Obama knows that tactic well. He has seen it elsewhere, in countries where leaders claim to protect their people with tanks and tear gas. When those in power can define security as they please, people's freedom becomes a temporary concept, he said. It's not just commentary, it's the confession of a man who once tried to keep America off the very path Trump is on. And this time, he no longer believes that the institution can protect itself. In interviews, Jasmine Crockett doesn't shy away from confrontation. She says straight, if we allow the president to use the military to resolve political disputes, then tomorrow he can use it to resolve elections. The room fell silent because everyone understood that statement was no longer an assumption. A country only needs to accept necessary intervention once to open the door to worse things. History never needs repetition, just precedent. And Trump, by turning the military into an instrument of repression, has just written the most dangerous precedent in 50 years. The media calls this the rise of the new political state, a government where every decision is staged for the cameras and every action is justified by immediate emotion. From the White House, Trump posted a video of soldiers parading through the city with the caption, "America Reclaimed." At the foot of the Lincoln statue, people carried banners. Whose America? Two images, one from above, one from below, contrast like two parallel worlds. An America built on propaganda, and an America still screaming in tear gas. Obama looked at that scene and said a quiet but cold sentence. If we need guns to maintain order, then perhaps what we are maintaining is not order but fear. And Jasmine Crockett concluded with fire, this regime does not want stability, it wants conformity. Two sayings, two generations, but the same truth. When power is no longer controlled by law, the law is just a mask of power. And behind that mask, a shadow is gradually emerging, the shadow of dictatorship in the colors of the American flag. In the last days of October, thousands of people took to the streets carrying new slogans, "Democracy is not a stage," because they understand that America is being turned into a movie and they don't want to be just spectators. Trump may have the military in his hands, but Obama and Jasmine Crockett have something else in their hands, words. And in every dictatorship, language is always the first thing to be stifled. Today, they speak not just to protest, they speak to record a historical testimony. That democracy falls not with gunfire, but with applause when power oversteps its bounds. America woke up between two worlds, one of symbolism and one of law. On television, President Trump spoke of restoring order, protecting citizens, fighting chaos. But in the courts, his lawyers argued about the constitutionality of seizing control of the National Guard. With one hand holding the microphone, the other holding power, and between them, the growing silence of the people. In his speeches, Obama talked about soul of America. Crockett talks about body of it. One reiterates abstract principles: liberty, dignity, responsibility. The other emphasizes concrete realities: people arrested, people losing their homes, people shot. Both voices, in 2 generations, meet on a common point that power, unchecked, will not protect the people, but only itself. And if people stop demanding limits, government will stop needing them. The protesters continued, tired and uncertain of what would change. Scrawled on the signs was, "Democracy is not a brand," a slogan but also a warning for an era where image replaces substance. When law and order becomes a sales slogan, justice becomes the product, and citizens become spectators. Obama understood that Trump's strength lay not in his army, but in his emotions. He used fear to shape reality. Crockett, representing a new generation, understood that trust can only be restored by truth. "We don't need more heroes," she said. "We need limits." In an age where leadership is measured by views and power by arrests, such words become courageous actions. But this war is not just domestic. As Washington turns violence into propaganda, the world watches and learns. In Moscow, in Beijing, in Tehran, people smile, "See, America is the same." And in an instant, the symbol of freedom is exchanged for a false image of security. No bullets need be fired, just a few clips, a few tweets, and the world begins to believe that democracy can be crushed with the push of a button. The question that remains is not, has Trump gone too far, but can America ever come back? Because once people accept guns on the streets as part of the order, democracy doesn't collapse overnight. It fades night by night. And when the light of law is extinguished, the darkness of power no longer needs to be hidden. Obama once said, "When a government needs tear gas to stay in power, it has probably lost its power," Crockett reiterated. "You cannot command loyalty through violence." Those 2 statements, though from different generations, are 2 milestones on the same path, the only path that can save this republic, back to limits, to the rule of law, and to the courage to say no to fear. Let's click subscribe, like, and share. Not just to support the channel, but to send a message. Democracy does not survive on its own. It lives through those who dare to defend it. In an age where power buys silence, spreading the truth is the most powerful act of resistance.